Antoinette?
Oui.
Yes.
Je voulais vous dire bonjour.
I want to say
et
hello
vous montrer qu'en appuyant sur la main, ça
tell you
fonctionne.
that when I click on the hand, it
Merci
works.
beaucoup, Antoinette.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Antoinette.
Bonjour.
Hello.
Et puis,
Bonjour.
j'entends des oiseaux.
I can hear some birds in the background.
Est-ce que tu avais une question?
Do you have a question?
Non, j'étais venue pour vous écouter.
No, I just came here to listen to you. Okay. Okay, thank you,
Merci
Antoinette.
beaucoup, Antoinette. Et donc là aussi, tout le monde
So
entend, c'est
here,
ça?
everybody can hear me, right?
Alex?
Oui, oui, oui.
Ok. Donc, ces deux réalités,
these two realities,
dans un sens,
in one way,
par quelle chance, je
I'm not
ne sais
really
pas,
clear on
mais
due
on
to
a
what
été
chance
mis en situation
that
de
we have such a
prendre
situation
conscience
to be able to
de
become aware
cette autre réalité.
of this other reality.
Et cette réalité,
This
en fait,
reality,
est
which
la
is
source de,
the source,
elle est le bonheur
which
ultime.
is happiness, the ultimate
Chaque
happiness.
être porte cette
Each
réalité
sentient
ultime,
being
mais
carries
très peu
this
d'êtres
ultimate happiness,
peuvent
but very few of them are able to
prendre conscience de cette
become
réalité.
aware of
Et
such a reality.
encore plus rarement
And
trouver
in a
un
more
chemin,
rare manner, to find a path
parfaitement
perfect,
adapté,
which is completely adapted,
qui nous mène
which
à
will
vivre
guide
cette
us to live such a reality.
réalité. On peut voir,
We can see,
disons, on peut se poser la question,
we can ask
quel est
ourselves
le
this
chemin
question: what is this path
dans lequel je veux mettre
I
mon
want to
énergie
invest my energy, my life,
pour
in order
au moins
to
me rapprocher de cette réalité.
at least to bring myself a
Sinon,
little closer to
unir
such a
cette réalité.
reality, and if
Vivre
I can
cette
say
réalité.
even live such a reality, become kind of
Il y a
unify oneself with
Comme
such
des
a reality.
exemples qui me viennent.
So there's a few
Bien
examples
sûr,
which come
il y
to
a le
mind.
chemin
So of course there's the
des grands
path
yogis
of
qui
the
peuvent
yogis,
s'absorber dans
which are able to absorb
la claire
themselves
lumière,
in the clear
tel
light,
Milarepa
such as
et d'autres
Milarepa
maîtres.
and other great masters.
C'est bien sûr, c'est le chemin ultime.
So of course
le
this
plus
is the
rapide.
ultimate path, which
Et
is
en
the
même
quickest,
temps,
the swiftest
il y a
path.
tellement d'autres chemins
And of course
qui
there's
nous
so
amènent
many
petit à
other paths
petit
which will bring us slowly, slowly
à nous rapprocher
to bring
de
us
cette
closer to such a
réalité
reality,
ultime,
this ultimate reality,
qui n'a pas de commencement,
which does not
qui
have a
n'a pas de
beginning,
fin,
which does not have an end,
et qui est de cette nature
and which
de
has this
la
nature
béatitude.
of bliss, often described as having the nature of bliss.
Choses qui me,
The things,
des images qui me viennent à
these
l'esprit,
images which come to my
c'est
mind are,
il y a l'histoire
there's this story
d'un chasseur
of a hunter who killed
maman vache, je dis
a
maman
mummy
parce que
cow. So I'm saying
elle a
mummy.
un bébé, enfin un petit
She
veau.
had
Et
a
quand elle
baby
meurt,
in her womb,
le
little
petit
calf,
veau
and that when she
sort,
died, the calf,
de
you
son
know,
ventre.
she gave birth to this little calf.
Et malgré sa souffrance,
And
et
although she
malgré
was
sa
suffering,
blessure,
and although she was
elle,
wounded,
juste, elle se concentre
she was
totalement
focused
sur
completely on giving birth to this baby
et le lèche.
calf.
Et en fait, ça a tellement de puissance.
And this has
cette
such
que le
such a
chasseur,
powerful,
ça a
and due to this kind of state of mind, it
Non
transformed the
seulement
mind of the hunter.
la maman vache,
And the
elle a-
mummy cow
elle a
was,
transcendé,
she went beyond her own suffering.
elle a donné la vie.
She
et
gave
elle a
birth to
tout
the
de suite
calf and immediately
elle a
started
pris
looking
soin
after this baby calf.
de son bébé. Cette énergie,
So such an
cette
energy,
énergie de totale ouverture,
this
cette
energy which is a
énergie
complete
de total
openness,
don de soi-même.
completely giving up oneself.
On n'est plus
We're no longer
dans
in
cette
this
réalité,
reality,
comme dit sa sainteté,
like His Holiness describes, which is very restrained, very narrow,
de la saisie égotique.
of grasping
Ça,
at
c'est ce
the
qui
ego.
s'oppose. Ça,
So this is what it
c'est ce qui
opposes itself to
s'oppose
this.
et qui fait le plus grand obstacle
And this creates kind of the greatest kind of obstacle to this openness. The other thing which comes to my mind is this story that Lama used to talk about. So it's one woman who's not Buddhist. It was happening in the USA. Maybe about a decade ago. This mom, her daughter was kidnapped, raped, and killed by somebody. While the court case was taking place, the mother, she wanted to say something, so she said to this man, I forgive you, and I'm going to pray for you. So such a path of love will bring us also to this ultimate reality. To begin where we are at. It's not by flicking fingers or by turning a page that you're going to be able to get out of this selfish kind of consciousness, which is very, very narrow way of thinking, to open up to this kind of true nature. But it's a progressive path which is certain to bring us to create the causes in order to realize our potential. Such a path is the path of openness to others, this path of compassion, this path of love. But at the same time, our mind is permeated, habituated with grasping, to grasp it, this kind of egocentric kind of grasping. I will give you an example. Actually, it's more like a confession rather than an example. The other day, I was, after the session, I want to say hello to somebody, to give somebody a hug. And this person, this person kind of pushed me away. And at that point, immediately, in my mind, there was nothing, no more Dharma, just this grasping of feeling rejected. And the problem never comes from the other person, it always comes from this grasping, from this self-importance of me, I, although some kind of few efforts that we do occasionally, that this kind of clown is telling you right now, it just shows this kind of attitude that the mind is not permeated. It's permeated with oceans of habits, of grasping at the self, and is very rarely, kind of permeated by this abandonment of the self, and permeated by the Dharma. And this is what His Holiness Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche says, on this path towards enlightenment, we must make this resolution, this complete resolution, to abandon completely the attachment to the self. That's the thing which seems intellectually okay, makes sense. But how much are we actually or prepared to do that? How much are we actually capable of staying in this openness, no matter what happens, no matter what occurs? At that time, what happens when this grasping occurs, I am full of myself, and all of a sudden,
la réalité de
the
l'autre
reality
est
of somebody
supérieure
else,
à la réalité.
I'm no longer connected to the other person's reality.
Même pas la réalité.
Not even the conventional.
Je parle même pas de la réalité.
I'm not even talking about the ultimate reality here,
de la réalité.
just here the conventional
Qu'est-ce
reality.
qui fait que l'autre,
So,
eh ben,
what is the
manifeste
reason why
ça?
this person is manifesting
Qu'est-ce
or
qu'il
acting in
exprime?
such a way? What is he trying to
Peut-être
express,
c'est de la
or
fatigue.
she? Maybe this person is
La peur du virus. Ah oui, au fait,
is scared
le virus,
or tired. Oh yeah, by the way, this virus.
on n'est
Maybe
pas en
scared of the
confinement,
virus.
on est
We're
en
not
retraite.
in quarantine.
Et
We
le
are in retreat.
gouvernement, dans certains cas,
And the
il
government, in
même
certain cases, is giving us,
il nous paye pour
is even
recevoir.
paying us to be in
Donc, il
retreat.
faut se réjouir
So
pour
we
ça.
must rejoice.
Et aussi,
And also,
mais ça peut-être j'en reparlerai plus
maybe I
tard,
will talk about it a little bit later.
le vrai virus, en fait,
The
c'est
actual
pas,
virus
je sais pas comment il s'appelle,
is not this, I don't know what it's
corona,
called,
machin,
corona
c'est
something or
cette
other.
saisie,
It's actually this grasping.
ça,
That,
c'est notre pire virus
that's the worst
Qui n'a pas de
virus which
commencement.
exists, which doesn't have a beginning
et qui n'aura pas de fin.
and will not have an end unless
Nous-mêmes, on ne
ourselves,
met pas en
we
place
don't
les causes
create the causes
pour guérir de ce
for
virus.
healing such a
Encore
virus.
une fois,
And
l'autre,
again,
il est
the other
toujours
is
l'opportunité
always the opportunity
pour
to
transcender
go
cette
beyond
saisie égoïste.
this grasping itself.
Et vous voyez,
And
dans
you
cette
can see
situation,
in this situation
personne,
with this person,
c'est comme ça.
it's immediately
Comme ça,
like a
c'est,
flick of a finger,
tout d'un coup,
all of a sudden,
dualité de
there's this
toi et moi,
duality
qui
between me
devient
and you,
plus dur que
which becomes very concrete, very solid,
le béton. Ou je sais pas.
harder than concrete. It
Et
becomes harder than
surtout,
concrete.
ce qui
And
est,
especially,
dans un sens triste à ce moment-là, c'est
what
que
is
ça nous
sad
coupe
actually at this point,
nous-mêmes de notre
that we are actually cutting
source
ourselves off
d'amour.
from our source of
Pas-
love.
Dans ce cas-là, il n'y avait pas de la colère. Ou
In the sense, there was no
c'est
anger.
juste,
It
la
was
saisie
just
est
this
tellement
kind of
forte,
grasping is so strong
qu'il n'y a plus
that there's
que
no longer,
cette solidité, cette
there's
dualité.
only this kind of
Et-
solidity
quelque chose qui
and something
fait qu'on ressent dans notre
which
cœur
makes that we
que c'est
feel
complètement fermé. vous
we
voyez.
feel totally closed. You
Après,
see? Understand?
les tendances
Our
suivent
tendency
cette saisie.
follows such a
Euh,
grasping.
Dans mon cas, je suis assez spécialiste pour la culpabilité.
In my case, I'm like a specialist in feeling bad for oneself.
Et le problème de la culpabilité,
So the problem with feeling
c'est
bad towards
euh,
oneself
l'identification
is identifying with what is negative.
et tout d'un coup, ça
So
nous
all of a
coupe
sudden, this kind of breaks us
de
off, separates
l'énergie
us from the
de
energy
vie que l'on porte
of
à pouvoir
this kind of
changer.
life energy which we carry to be able to change, to be able to
Ici,
shift things.
On identifie notre
However, but if we identify our being
négativité,
with such a negativity,
là,
with this
c'est comme une
bad
terre
aspect,
stérile.
then
C'est
this
comme une
becomes this
graine
kind of like
qui a-
sterile earth, bare
rien ne peut
ground.
sortir de ça.
Nothing can, grow from such a bare ground,
Donc,
sterile earth.
Quel est le chemin
So what is the
pour
path
retrouver
to
cette,
find
cette
again
énergie de vie
such an energy of life,
qui est quelque part
which is in
une
certain
sorte
case,
de manifestation,
which is kind of this manifestation,
je dirais,
I would say even
au niveau relatif
in
de
the relative
cette nature
sense
ultime.
of this kind of ultimate
C'est
nature.
le retour à l'autre,
It's kind of going back to the other, returning home to the other,
remettre en place
to
le
kind
lien.
of reorganizing, recentering, and recreating this link between
Donc,
self and other.
ça peut se passer par
And this happens, it can happen
de demander pardon, par
by asking forgiveness,
et
for
de
example,
demander pardon ou l'ouverture à l'autre.
and
Ce n'est
opening
pas,
ourselves up to others. And it's not
juste
actually
pour se
just
soulager.
to feel better
Ça
about
soulage,
oneself.
ça
It
libère.
does, you do feel better when you ask for
Mais en
forgiveness,
même temps,
but at the
c'est
same time,
redire oui
it's also
à
kind of saying
la
yes
réalité
to
d'amour
the reality of love
et que l'on
that
veut
we carry,
donner à l'autre.
that we want to also show to the other person.
Et Excusez-moi,
I'm sorry, but
une deuxième histoire aussi.
another story, kind of
C'était
personal
très
story.
longtemps.
It was a long time
C'était,
ago
aux USA, quand
in the States.
je faisais la Mickey Mouse
I was
retreat.
doing a Mickey Mouse retreat.
Lama, il nous demandait une fois
Lama,
par année de sortir de retraite pour avoir des enseignements.
he was giving us
Et
some
puis,
teachings
il est
during
venu
the
à un moment
retreat,
donné où
and he came,
il y avait une transmission.
and there was this transmission.
Mais c'était juste
It was a transmission which was happening
une personne
just from
à chaque fois
one-on-one,
devant Lama.
basically, in front of Lama.
Parce que ce truc-là, là, je suis habillé
It
en
is
rouge,
special.
la tête rasée.
So because I was
Ils voulaient
wearing
me
red
passer en
and,
premier.
you
Moi,
know, I
ça,
had
c'est
shaved
le genre de
head, they
truc qui
wanted me
m'intéresse.
to go first,
Donc,
and this is the kind of thing which I cannot stand. So immediately,
j'étais à nouveau
I was
dans
again
cette
in this
fermée.
energy of being closed up.
Et j'arrive devant Lama.
And so I arrive in front of Lama,
Et pendant ce qui m'a paru très longtemps,
and what felt like a long time, maybe about 10 minutes, 15
Lama, il
minutes,
a fait
Lama,
absolument rien fait du tout.
he didn't do anything at all.
Il était là.
He was
Donc,
just
normalement,
sitting
il
there.
était censé.
At that point, he was supposed to begin to give, you know, he was supposed to, in a sense,
Et à un moment
to
donné,
start the transmission.
Évidemment,
But at one
alors
point,
là, pour être mal et la culpabilité.
But to
là,
feel
c'était-
bad and to feel, you know, bad,
50,
you know, I felt really awful. I felt
Et
really
à un moment donné,
embarrassed, and you
Je me
know,
suis quand même dit, au fond de moi, je me suis
and in
dit,
the depth of my
j'ai
heart,
juste
I
ça.
kind
Alors
of
ça,
thought
c'était
this was just
vraiment
kind of
très,
like a.
artificiel.
It was very artificial, okay.
Mais au fond de moi,
But in the depths
qui
of my
m'est venu,
heart, I
c'est
kind of had
pour le
this.
bien des êtres.
I thought, oh, for the benefit of sentient
Je me
beings.
suis dit ça.
I just thought
Absolument
that.
pas une expérience. Hein.
It was not an experience. It was just blah blah. It was just a
Mais
bit of,
juste
you know.
ça,
But
Et là,
just that,
à ce
and
moment-là,
at that point, immediately, Lama started to
c'est-à-dire que
give the
comme
transmission.
c'est comme
So
si
because,
l'esprit
as the
qui
mind,
est coupé de ça,
which was
coupé de
separated,
cette même artificiellement ou je sais pas
even
comment,
artificially, I'm not really sure how I could express this,
oui,
but
peu importe, artificiellement.
I guess, okay,
Même
artificially, yeah, let's go for that
On ne
word.
décide pas dans
So
notre
even if
cœur
we don't decide in our heart
pour le bien des êtres,
to think for the
il n'y a
benefit of
pas cette
sentient beings,
ouverture.
there's not
Donc,
this
sans cette
openness.
ouverture,
And without
il n'y
this
a rien qui
openness,
peut,
there's nothing
pousser en nous.
which
Il y a
can
rien qui
grow
peut
inside
grandir en
us.
nous.
There's nothing which can grow
Donc,
inside of us.
Ces deux choses,
So these
ces
two
exemples,
things, these two
ça n'a
examples
aucun
which I've
intérêt
given
au
you,
niveau de
has
l'analyse
nothing to do,
personnelle. C'est
you know, nothing
juste,
to do on the personal level, but it's more sort of like a,
cette essence que l'on porte ne peut être
so this essence that we carry can only be actualized through
bodhicitta,
this
cet
bodhicitta,
esprit, cet
this
esprit
mind, which
Et-
seeks enlightenment.
Ce qui est important aussi
What's important
de voir,
is to
c'est
see
que cette saisie,
this grasping itself
non seulement elle ne se fonde sur
is not
aucune
based
réalité,
on any reality whatsoever.
sur aucune réalité, qu'elle est juste une création.
It's just a creation
de l'esprit
by the mind,
halluciné.
which is
Mais
completely
pas seulement
hallucinating,
halluciné,
but not only hallucinating,
l'esprit
it's the mind
croit
that believes
hallucination.
in this hallucination.
Ça, c'est ce que
That's what- This is what Tilopa told
Tu vois, mon fils,
Naropa. He says, you see, my son,
ce n'est pas seulement le concept
it's not only the
qui est
concept
l'ennemi,
which is the
de
enemy,
croire
it's also
la réalité du concept.
believe in the reality of such a concept and not to kind of question
Notre
that.
chemin, bien
So our
sûr,
path
ce chemin de compassion
of
et
compassion and love
doit aussi
must
être
also
accompagné
be
par le chemin
associated
de
with the
la compréhension.
path of comprehension, of understanding.
Comment, dans notre
How,
vie de tous les jours,
In our everyday life,
on peut...
can we,
Il y a vraiment cette notion
there's really this notion
d'imprégnation.
of becoming,
Donc, d'utiliser
permeating the
où que l'on
Dharma,
soit,
wherever we are,
qu'on soit
permeating our
à
mind with the Dharma,
l'Institut,
where we're at the
qu'on soit
Institute,
chez soi,
where we're at home,
ou au travail,
or at
je
work,
sais pas où, n'importe où.
wherever you are, wherever
Notre
we might
esprit
be, our mind is there.
Et
And
comment on va avoir...
how,
il y a deux choses.
there's two things.
L'habileté à
There's the skill
utiliser la méthode,
in
mais
using the
aussi ce
method,
qui va nous donner
and
envie
also the kind
de
of
l'utiliser.
develop this kind of wish to use such a method? What is going to kind of encourage us to make such a choice? This choice of abandoning, giving up the cause of suffering, the causes of suffering, from the depths of our heart, we must take such a decision to decide to let go of grasping and to bring others, which is the other in this case, is this reality which is kind of a bit far of us, and to consider other people's. I mean, when I'm talking about other, I mean other in the whole. The other kind of involves all types of sentient beings, the totality of all sentient beings. How can I activate such an energy within my mind, of this love and compassionate mind? Here, in this case, it's not possible to kind of have this kind of movement, such a movement of in our hearts, that we consider with the kind of feeling rejected or it's a negative state of mind. Such person has got so many faults. If we focus our mind on these negative aspects, if we allow our mind to follow such a path, or this kind of mental state, which means basically to only see what is wrong, that is going to cut us away from the source of all our love. We can do the prayers, we can recite mantras, we can do millions of prostrations, because we're not able basically to see the beauty in the other. I'm not talking about the ultimate beauty here. We can also try to do that, to deepen our understanding and to deepen our view, at the same time also. But what our masters have shown us, or given us as a method, which is a kind of more relative sense, conventional sense, is with our heart, not with the kind of intellect, but with our heart, to recognize the goodness of sentient beings. For the example, which is kind of traditionally given, is the love, that the mother has for its child, for her child. So the masters who have developed their mind, they tell us that there is not one being which has not been your mother, or has not been as close. All sentient beings have been incredibly close to you, in the same way they have been your mother or your father. So they have all been, he or her who has protected you, who has, supported you in your life. And even, while facing difficulties, or, even having to make sacrifices, and these have been numberless. I'm not talking about only, taking rebirths in a human form, but in the same way that I give you the example with this mummy cow, this has not happened once, but this has happened hundreds and thousands of times. This kind of, we can't even count how many times this kind of situation has been produced. So there's this emphasizing this kind of continuity, how we've taken rebirth, because we have a more or less kind of vast understanding of such a reality, and all causes bring a certain result. And in each of our lives, there's been beings who have looked after us. And how we could say in a certain situation. So for example, if you just take this life, somebody has been kind, generous towards oneself in a particular situation, let's say. So maybe 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, regardless of that, this kindness always exists, still exists within my mind. It's still here. So, if it's a previous life, or 10 lives before, or 1,000 lives before, the goodness of that being is still existent within myself. and in the depths of my heart to re-actualize kindness. So what Islam says is wake up. You need to wake up from this consciousness state of mind which is absorbed or obsessed with I want, I don't want. By this attitude which is completely narrow and ignorant. So at the same time, as we interact with other people throughout our lives, is to develop or to cultivate this recognition, this acknowledgement of the kindness of other sentient beings. And such a goodness, such a kindness, at each instant is present, and it permeates our mind. And it can be whatever food, whatever mouthful of food or single mouthful of food that we have, we can always sort of in our heart to feel, where does this mouthful of food come from? Where does it, this fact that I'm able to survive, where does this come from? Have a house. How many sentient beings have worked very hard? How many sentient beings have suffered? How many sentient beings have died? No, these sentient beings, these bugs or animals, are just for the construction of this house where I'm in, to be able to be protected from, difficulties and from bad weather and so forth. All things. There is nothing which does not come from the goodness of sentient beings. So I must wake up my heart to such a reality, and leave my inner being be touched, be moved. This kind of little spark of life, this spark of, becoming awake or enlightenment, we could say, to kind of being touched and moved, that I am just a result of the presence and the kindness of other sentient beings, or of others. So since beginningless time, every time that we've taken rebirth, all sentient beings have looked after us in a direct way and in an indirect way. There are the causes to take precious human rebirth are, ethics, generosity, patience, and making pure prayers. So we can see that all of these causes for having a precious human rebirth, which enables us to progress on the path towards enlightenment, all of these causes come completely and uniquely from the existence of others. Without others, we cannot practice ethics, generosity, patience. So you can see basically to what extent the other is so important, crucial, in the aspect of is incredibly precious and incredibly kind towards us, and to recognize such a kindness guides us to this feeling of being grateful. So this is a kind of maybe another level of openness. So what can I do now? What can I do to help you, to respond? What can I do to respond towards the suffering that you're experiencing? Most of the time, we're so focused on our own reality that we completely forget, others' reality. So such a kind of learning must occur through this choice. We take this decision to do this and to train our mind in the following and in our everyday life. And there's not to not think, oh, there's particular times, there's particular places to do such a practice. At each instant of our in our life, we can carry or cultivate such a mind of bodhicitta, of this mind which seeks for enlightenment, or this mind of awakening. One aspect of compassion is to know in our heart that all sentient beings share this reality, this common ultimate reality. They have this in the depths of their hearts, this ultimate reality, since the beginningless time. But they're not able to actualize it. They're not able to find this path to actualize this ultimate reality. What path can actualize such a reality? To develop or to cultivate these causes to generate such a compassion, such a love. All these sentient beings have at one point or another looked after us, cared for us. And such sentient beings, although they're looking for happiness constantly, and they want to avoid any minute form of suffering, due to their minds is not awakened, or has not been awoken by this internal spiritual path, they're constantly destroying the causes of happiness. And they are accumulating the causes for more suffering. Such sentient beings which have been so close to us, which are prepared to sacrifice their time, their energy, their life for us. So to have such an awareness when we see around us all these different types of existence, when we see these bugs, these ants. At the moment there's a lot of ants, isn't there, at the Institute? It's something which must wake up in our heart, this awareness of being aware of others and their suffering, and our responsibility towards such a suffering. We had this opportunity to meet a teacher, meet a master, and to meet this path, which this inner path, which is guiding us towards this ultimate reality. So our responsibility lies in, if you think about, if you remember this, these sentient beings which maybe in this life take, the rebirth of an ant or whatever, it's not that this sentient being wanted to take such a rebirth. In his previous life, he was like us. Now, he wanted happiness and he didn't want to have the experience of suffering, but pushed or propelled by this attitude of wanting to have immediate pleasures and rejecting all types of suffering due to ignorance, he created the causes for taking such a rebirth, involving or rebirth of suffering. So what can that sentient being do right now? Under this form, what can they do? Lama says they can't do anything whatsoever. They can only suffer. All their life. The bug, it's going to suffer. It's going to die. And due to karma, it's going to take another rebirth and another one and another one and a rebirth of suffering, one after the other. So to feel in our heart that this is unbearable. To have this body of suffering and to continuously be suffering,
nous puissions ça ressentir dans notre cœur.
and to feel, within our heart that we must feel this is completely unbearable.
Et toutes ces pratiques que l'on fait,
And all these practices that we do,
chez nous, ici,
at our home or here, wherever we might be,
l'unique
the only
raison de nos
goal
pratiques,
or the only reason
c'est
for such a practice
pouvoir
is to
cultiver,
cultivate
et accéder,
and gain
réaliser
access
ce
and
potentiel
realize such a
qui peut
potential
prendre en charge
which can
tous les êtres sensibles que l'on
take
rencontre.
upon oneself all sentient
Que,
beings.
comme dit Lama,
So like
quel
what
que
Lama
soit
says,
leur comportement vis-à-vis de moi,
whatever their attitude or their behavior might be, regardless of that.
j'attends toujours que
So if I'm
les
always
autres se
waiting for
comportent
people to
exactement
behave in the way that I want them to,
je le souhaite, alors inévitablement
so this
je suis je vais être en situation
I'm going to
à un
always
moment ou
be
un autre
in, at some point or another, I'm going to
de
find myself in a
frustration,
situation of feeling frustrated, of
de
suffering,
colère.
of being angry.
Donc dans nos expériences de la
So
vie
in
de tous
our
les jours,
experiences, our daily
quoi
experiences,
qu'il arrive,
whatever happens,
c'est de garder au fond
to
de
keep
nous cette
in
sorte
the depths of our heart,
de souhait fondamental,
this wish,
qui
this fundamental
pas
wish,
seulement un
not
souhait
only
intellectuel,
which is a kind of
mais qui vient
intellectual
du plus
wish,
profond
but
de
which
notre
comes
cœur
from the
comme une
most
sorte
depths of our heart,
d'énergie,
of this energy,
qui comme un torrent,
which is kind of like
une source
a source or a very strong river,
de vie qui
a strong
est
river of life,
la
or the source
raison
of
d'être
life,
de
spring of
mon
life.
existence, c'est d'amener du bonheur à l'autre,
And my goal is to bring
c'est
happiness to
de pouvoir
others.
les libérer de la souffrance.
And my goal is to liberate them from suffering, to liberate the others from suffering.
Donc il y a une façon.
So there's a particular
très
way
vue, ça peut être de cultiver la
to
reconnaissance
cultivate this recognition, this
de
acknowledgement
l'incroyable bonté des autres
of the incredible kindness of
depuis
others
toujours.
since
Et
beginningless
l'autre
time.
façon, c'est
The other way,
comme moi, j'apprécie quand
regarding
les
myself,
êtres,
I appreciate when sentient beings,
et je veux quelque part.
and
tout le
also I
monde
want,
a ce
and
souhait.
everybody
que
has
les
this
êtres,
wish that all sentient
nous
beings loves us.
On veut tous être aimés.
We
par
all
les
want
autres,
to be loved by
être
others
reconnus,
and be recognized, acknowledged, and be respected by others,
même par
even
les animaux de
by
compagnie.
no pet, even by our pets.
On apprécie
We appreciate
ce témoignage ou ces signes
these kind of
d'amour et
signs
d'affection que
of love and
tous
affection
les êtres autour de nous
that
donnent.
all sentient beings kind of give to us.
Mais pour celui que j'appelle l'autre,
But regarding
c'est
the
exactement
other
pareil.
person, this person I'm calling other, is
L'autre,
exactly
il
the
a
same. The
besoin
other also has this
de mon
need,
amour.
needs my love,
Il apprécie autant
appreciates,
que
appreciates
moi,
exactly in the
j'apprécie
same
l'amour
way
donne.
that I appreciate,
Tout être
feeling
apprécie
loved.
ça.
The other also feels that way
Alors maintenant,
about love. So
comment
now,
est-ce que ça
now,
fonctionne?
how am I
Ce
behaving?
que dit Lama, c'est
So what Lama is saying,
normal
it's normal
que les autres
that others
doivent travailler pour moi,
need to work
doivent
for me,
me respecter,
must
et
respect
doivent
me.
m'aimer.
It's normal that they have to love me.
Mais moi,
But me,
si juste je ne pense même pas à l'autre,
if I don't think of
c'est
the
okay.
other, it's okay, no problem, no biggie.
On voit comment cette attitude elle
We can see how this attitude
est assez bouleversante.
is actually quite shocking.
Comment on est tellement obscurci,
How we completely
obsédé
obscured,
juste par
obsessed
soi-même.
by me,
On n'a
me,
pas
me.
jamais la conscience
We have very
l'autre,
little awareness
comme
of
moi,
the
je
other.
me sens blessé par
So in the same way that I feel kind of upset or hurt by a particular way if somebody looks at me or says something,
Mais l'autre c'est pareil.
But the other person feels exactly
L'autre
the
aussi,
same. Other
il
person
ressent
doesn't
cette
like,
blessure.
feels hurt.
Et
in the same way that I do.
Comme dans mon exemple,
However, in
quand
the
j'ai
same way
plus
that
la
I gave you
conscience de la réalité de
this
l'autre,
example, in the same way, if I don't, I'm
alors
not aware of the other person's reality, then
on déverse
automatically
juste nos émotions.
we just like basically let out all our negative emotions and just put that on the other person. We don't understand that the other person is exactly the same as ourselves.
Aucune différence.
There is no difference whatsoever.
Ce que dit sa sainteté,
So what His Holiness says,
par quel privilège je devrais passer devant tout le monde.
so under what's the reason for me to have to go in front of everybody else? What is the logical reasoning? Lama explains it. What is the logical reason for my happiness to be more important than your happiness? That my suffering is more important than your suffering?
C'est quand on prend un être avec un autre être.
So this is when we take one sentient being and another one. And now, you know, imagine
vous êtes une petite goutte d'eau
you're a little drop
sur le rivage
on the ocean side, on the kind of riverbank, on the ocean bank.
L'océan des êtres sensibles.
And in front of you there's the oceans of all sentient beings. All these sentient beings are equal to the amount of drops of water in the oceans.
Depuis toujours. Qui sont totalement
that are completely
submergés
submerged by
le karma,
by the karma, by afflictive emotions, by grasping,
et l'auto-chérissement.
And self-cherishing.
C'est comme ils n'ont pas le choix.
It's as if they didn't have a choice. They're completely propelled
ces flots
by these kind of waves of suffering, these currents of suffering. I know all sentient beings, like Lama explains, the only person that I'm worried about is myself.
C'est ça qu'il nous faut abandonner.
And that's what we need to abandon.
Et ce qui nous permet d'abandonner.
And what enables us to abandon such an attitude,
égocentrique,
this selfish or ego-focused attitude, is the other. Every time we meet an other,
quel que soit son comportement,
you know, however that other person might behave,
il nous donne toujours
he is always or she is always given us the opportunity to open our hearts,
de nous oublier.
To forget about ourselves.
Oui, cette maman
this mummy cow,
ce qu'elle a vécu,
what she was going through basically,
avec son petit,
with the little baby that she had, she was going through so much suffering.
La cause définitivement de l'éveil.
So this suffering and this becomes the cause for becoming enlightened. This is what we need to remember, is to not
avoir des exigences,
to not have to wish for certain behaviors or expectations for other people's behaviors. Things never work the way we want them to. Things never occur in the way we wish to, okay? But what Lama is explaining, the bodhicitta, sorry, but I'm really embarrassed to talk about this actually, because it's like I'm kind of dirtying this image, but I'm sorry, but it seems like I have to talk about this. In this dimension of bodhicitta, Lama talks about, I want to be utilized by others. I want the others want to utilize me so he can find happiness, so he can be free from suffering. And even if I've decided such a thing, and this is also, you know, we think about His Holiness, he says, if the others has some kind of happiness, you know, which in some kind of way which is negative towards myself, it doesn't really matter, because that person has experienced some form of happiness. That's fantastic. By touching the heart of the other person with such an energy, by recognition, I am here for you. You are not alone. There is something which can also awaken in the other person. And this can awaken to this bodhicitta energy. But it's not by giving, you know, teaching other people's lessons that we're going to be able to awaken, you know, waking up our heart
Qui sommes-nous pour vouloir
And who the hell are
punir
we
les autres, ou
to,
leur donner des
want to
leçons,
punish other people?
ou je sais pas quoi. Ça, c'est quand dans notre truc, dans
That's
notre esprit,
in our
on
mind,
voit le
in
négatif
our heart,
chez
we
l'autre.
see the
Ah
negative
oui, l'autre,
aspects of the
faudrait
other
qu'il change
person.
ça, ça,
So it
ça,
would
ça,
be
ça.
good if the
La
other
liste
person
est
would
tellement
change
longue
this,
que,
that, and the other, and the list
voilà.
is so long there,
Non,
you know.
c'est-à-dire que là, il y a
So no, this is
aucun
not what we're
moyen
trying to do. There's
pour
no other
générer,
way.
et pour nous et pour l'autre, la moindre étincelle
We need to try.
d'idée, de
There is no way by following such a stream of thought
Mais
that we
si
can generate any
on
kind
fait
of
ce choix
spark of
fondamental,
bodhicitta in
parce
ourselves
que
or in others. But if we make this
c'est
fundamental
aussi
choice,
la chose qui peut faire le plus plaisir à
but
un
this
être,
is
en fait.
this is also the thing. Waking up to this
un être
is the thing which will make
exemple
our
vivant de cette-
masters be incredibly happy,
de
and
cette
they are.
détermination.
Lama is the actual
Utiliser
living example
chaque
of such an
instant de sa
attitude,
vie,
to
de
use
son corps,
chaque
de sa
moment
parole,
of our
de son
life,
esprit,
of their body,
pour
speech,
le
and
bien des
mind for the benefit of sentient beings.
Parce que
Because
et en même temps,
at the same time, in a fundamental way, this understanding that the others is not what he appears to us. It is not only, he is not only these negative things who appear to us, and we want to put the other person in the right path, in the correct path. There's a part of their reality which we are not considering at that point. And this negativity, it's us to understand it and to want to learn something from it, and to see how the loving mother looks at their own sick child. The kid is not pretending to be sick, but also sometimes the sickness, again we're coming back to this virus, the virus is the grasping at the ego. And this grasping is in itself suffering. So, if you cultivate in your heart this outlook of looking and at the other person that they're experiencing a great amount of suffering, but it's not just their negativity, it's coming from a place of suffering, then we're kind of creating the causes, or we're opening ourselves up to generate compassion. And it also enables, it might give, it kind of opens up the space for the other to this outlook of compassion. And have this develop in this outlook that I know that there is goodness in you. And sentient beings need that outlook. Not just think, oh, there's this, and this wrong with you. Sentient beings know this. So rather our loving kindness energy, which can give to the other this kind of spark of hope that they can do something of good thing with themselves for other people. And Lama explains that if there's musicians or something, they should make a song, compose a song with this determination that even when the other person behaves in a negative way or in an inappropriate way towards me, towards myself, in our heart to generate this wish, this incredibly strong wish, that, and to think to ourselves that may that be for him or her the cause of happiness. May that not be the cause for more suffering, for more negative imprints which should kind of guide them and lead them on this negative, detrimental path. So Lama says this is the best psychology. And this liberates us from the prison of this inflamed or fiery hot prison. If the more we are in the me and the I, the less we can deal with any kind of contradiction which comes our way. So that's what we need to free ourselves from. It's not from people which disturb us or
Parce que ça,
or question
Shantideva,
us.
il en parle.
Shantideva
Ça, ce
talks about
travail-là,
this.
il
So
finit-
working
il-
on
il
this,
ne finit jamais.
it never
Et dès
ends.
que tu as
If
cultivé
you are
l'abandon
able
de
to
toi-même, en
cultivate the
cultivant l'amour,
abandoning
la
the
patience,
self, and
alors
by
c'est pas
generating and
possible que tu
cultivating
trouves en face de toi
the
quelqu'un
kind
que
heart,
tu
compassion, and patience, it's
désignes
not
comme
possible to
négatif,
find somebody who you are able to designate as being negative.
bien sûr, voir
You are
un
only
être souffrir.
able to see a sentient being who is suffering. That's all that you can see.
Mais en même temps,
At the same time,
c'est tellement inhabituel,
it's incredibly unusual,
cette attitude.
such a behavior.
C'est une attitude, en
It's a
fait,
behavior
de profonde
of deep
responsabilité,
responsibility
de savoir que au fond
to
de nous,
know that within the depths of our heart,
la cause
the
de tout
cause
ce que l'on va expérimenter,
of all the things we're
ressentir,
gonna
vivre,
experience or, you know,
c'est notre
go
esprit.
through
C'est comment notre esprit perçoit
is depending upon how we perceive
le
it,
monde et
perceive the
nous-mêmes.
world, and so forth.
Et quand on a trouvé
And how when we found
le maître qui
the master,
nous donne cette inspiration,
who gives us this
qui nous dit c'est
aspiration,
possible,
which tells us
qui
it's
nous-
possible,
par son exemple,
and due
qui
to
nous montre
by him
parfaitement
being an
le
example,
chemin, qui nous guide
showing
sur
us
ce chemin,
the path, leading us on the path,
quelles que soient nos défaillances, nos erreurs.
whatever
C'est
might,
comme si
you
le
know,
maître,
faults we might
il voit
experience.
toujours ce qu'il y a de meilleur en nous,
The master will always see the best
en
aspects
nous
within you,
montrant aussi, bien sûr, nos défaillances,
and also showing us
sans
our faults,
identifier
but without
nous
identifying
emprisonner
you or imprisoning you within these
dans ces
negativities
limitations
or within these
qui
limitations,
sont encore notre réalité.
which are still our actual
Et donc,
reality, our
À
living
nous
reality.
de aussi
So it's up to us,
intérieurement,
you know,
entre guillemets,
internally,
avec notre maître intérieur,
with our internal
aussi
master,
de faire la distinction
to
entre
distinguish
ce qui est notre nature
what
ultime,
is our
profonde,
ultimate reality, our
et
ultimate
notre
nature,
réalité conventionnelle,
and our conventional
sur
reality,
laquelle
upon
on peut
which
intervenir,
we
sur
can
laquelle
kind of
on peut
intervene
travailler,
and we can work on.
puisque
Because
la loi de causalité est
due to the law of cause and effect,
je sais pas comment, une
I'm not really sure how to say
vérité,
this.
enfin,
It's a truth, you know. Cause and effect is a
inévitable, ou je sais
thing.
pas comment dire.
I'm not really sure. You say it like inevitable.
C'est-à-dire qu'en créant les causes
By
et les
I mean it's by
conditions
creating certain
de
causes and
cette
conditions
ouverture du
of
cœur,
this openness of the
de ce
heart,
don
of
total
giving
de
up
soi-même
yourself,
à l'autre,
completely giving up yourself
De-
towards others, for others.
cette sorte de libération,
This
de se
freedom
libérer de
to
l'importance
free
de
yourself
soi-même.
from self-importance,
Et donc, ce qui nous amène
and what
à cette,
brings us about,
à cette réalité,
brings us to this
c'est,
reality,
de se relier,
is to
de
connect,
se relier à,
is to
au
connect
maître,
to the
le maître qui
master,
est la manifestation
which is the
vivante,
manifestation, the
de
living
cette
manifestation of such an ultimate
pas seulement
reality.
une fois, pas
Not
seulement
only
quand
once,
ça va pas bien,
not only when we feel a bit down, a bit
mais
gloomy,
continuellement,
or
continuellement,
when he asks us,
encore et encore et encore.
but whenever they ask us, it means that the Lama is always
Encore
asking
maître,
us to have such a behavior.
C'était le maître de
There was a great
Dilgo
master
Khyentse
of Dilgo Khyentse
un
Rinpoche,
grand maître Nyingma qui disait
a great Nyingma master, who said,
mieux vaut invoquer ton maître
it's
une
better
seule fois
to, you know,
que de
call
faire des
your Lama
centaines de
once
millions
than to do
de
100,000 of mantras.
Ça, c'est important.
And that's very
Vaut
important.
mieux
It is much better.
unir ton
It's
esprit
more to
à
unify
l'esprit
your
du
mind with the
que
with the
de
mind
faire
of the
tous les
master
tantras supérieurs
than to do
avec
all
les
the
phases
higher,
de
you know,
génération et d'accomplissement.
tantras, whether the generation stage or the
Tout
accomplishment
Et
stages.
là,
Everything is
dans,
there
dans une relation
within your relation,
extrêmement sincère,
incredibly
authentique.
sincere, authentic.
Et ce que dit Lama, c'est
And what Lama
l'essence
says,
de notre vie,
the essence
c'est
of
de
our life
pratiquer,
is to
cette
practice
dévotion au maître,
such a devotion
en réalisant
and realizing
l'inconcevable bonté du maître.
the inconceivable goodness of
Quand je
sentient
parlais tout à l'heure
beings,
de ce qui est en nous la capacité à nous
which is within
émouvoir,
us, this
donc
capacity to
cette bonté
move
des
us,
êtres,
There's this goodness of sentient beings, the suffering of sentient beings, and the inconceivable goodness of our Master, which is beyond all concepts. And this, it enables us to let go
sur cette volonté propre.
Regarding this kind of will, this sheer will. So what Lama is explaining is to do things which make the Master's mind, make it very happy. And which, whatever makes the Master's mind happy is what makes the Buddha's and Bodhisattva's mind happy. And to always have this loving kindness mind towards all sentient beings, even those who kind of oppose us, who harm us, and so forth. Because there is not one sentient being who is in essence the child of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So maybe, is there any questions, any quick questions?
Des questions avant.
Oui.
Allez. On va commencer peut-être.
So we're going to start.
Moitié-moitié.
So we're going to do half-half, 50-50.
Moitié-moitié.
Hein?
Moitié-moitié.
What do you mean by 50-50? So here I've done 1 hour, right?
Il y a Emma.
So there's Emma.
Okay.
Emma, hello.
Vidéo, seulement Charles te verra. On te verra.
Can you put your video on so Charles can see you?
Well, la vidéo.
Okay, how do I put this video on? Okay.
Bonjour.
Hello. Hello.
C'est Emmanuel et Eric.
Oui, je te reconnais.
My name is Emmanuel Eric.
Voilà.
Yes, I recognized you.
Je voulais demander
I wanted to ask a little question.
Quand, la méditation
regarding the meditation,
est renouvelée tout au long des jours et des semaines.
It kind of has been happening on a daily manner. It happens.
So
there's memories which are coming to my mind, and there's old memories occurring, presenting themselves in my mind, and what I've been experiencing is that the Master is always present, but that I've been separate. I'm separating myself with the Master. So is this a correct impression? What kind of memories are coming back? What are bringing you to that kind of idea? So all the different obstacles and the different sufferings are kind of like a sequence, a kind of like a movie, basically. Kind of, I've been going back in time of what I've gone through. What I've. You mean basically difficult periods, different moments of your life, right?
Pas en rapport avec le maître.
But not in relation to the Master, right? Immediately it doesn't seem like that. So the experience, I haven't thought about it in that way, but now I can feel that it was a path which was already clearly kind of directed in order for me to understand what I needed to understand.
Donc ça ne te sépare pas du maître.
So this does connect you to the Master? So no, it's... So this is more kind of my impression. I've been living in this ignorance for a long time, and throughout time, throughout the meditation, the kind of current meditation which I've been doing, and a little bit being a bit more mature, that the Master has always been present, but I have been always separate from the Master. Yes, yes. Charles says yes, yes. So is this a correct impression? Is this a valid impression? What do you think? Let's say, what is important is that how you develop this, or how you use this kind of becoming aware, and how you actually decide to use your time, your meditation, your energy, to continually feel this presence of the Master. And such an awareness will bring you to a learning, through a learning process, basically, which will enable you through this particular path, which will wake you up, which will bring you to enlightenment, in the dimension of devoting yourself to the Master, and it is in particular this kind of feeling the presence of the Master. So this presence of the Master is complete. It is unconditional. It doesn't have a beginning, it doesn't have an end, and it goes through and it permeates everything. So from our side, as regarding the kind of the disciple and the teacher, so what we need to do is to cultivate such a presence. So you see, throughout your meditation, there's moments there in your time in your life where you've been absent, and then you come back. But in a way, as a way to learn something, to indicate or to nourish your presence experience. And now what you're aspiring to, from the depths of my heart, what I aspire to, is to live this presence as much as I possibly can in every single instant, for the benefit of sentient beings. Absolutely. So she responds. So this feeling that I've been having, the Master has always been there, but I did not see him because of my obscurations. But these different obstacles, or so-called obstacles, has given me the kind of enabled me to think about the goodness and the kindness of the Master constantly, which is constantly present. So this is so Charles answers that this is exactly what you need to develop in your heart. This is what Lama explains, which is inconceivable. So inconceivable, because it basically it puts your inner being into an experience which is that of total openness, total openness, total confidence, total abandonment. You see, to cultivate again and again, Lama explains that there's two things.
So kind, so precious.
So kind, so precious. So precious because he is the manifestation, or she is the manifestation. Basically, because he carries basically this mind which is not separate to all Buddhas. So that is the nature of the mind of the Master. So he's incredibly kind because he is manifesting. Because this Master is giving this to me. These two things are important. So to permeate again and again the mind, so this is incredibly precious. Because such a reality of enlightenment, because since beginningless time, I have been totally separated from such. I've been in the obscuration of ignorance, and in this life, such a manifestation. So this is completely inconceivable, very, very precious, and this kindness is inconceivable. So to cultivate these two aspects, and to continuously develop and cultivate these two aspects, whatever you might be doing, for the benefit of all sentient beings. So she answers. So basically the mind of the Master is in the Dharmakaya, right? And kind of takes us out of this desire realm. I'm not really, Charles answers that I'm not really sure if it's a decision in this case. What are the causes that we are creating, right? To believe in this reality, this kind of tangible reality, to believe in this existence of the kind of inherent existence of phenomena, and to prefer myself to all other sentient beings. So this is a reality we've created, and continuously we've been doing this since beginningless time, and which we are continually constructing this. So like the Buddha Shakyamuni has explained, as he has been said, so he's made a choice to renounce and to follow a path, this path of enlightenment. And this is what he's inviting us to do in their way of living, basically.
Merci.
Thank you very
Ça répond à
much.
ta question?
Did this respond to your question?
Oui, tout à fait.
She says that yes,
encore une base solide
So,
qui va renforcer mon.
again, this is kind of an idea which helps me reinforce and my understanding of the kindness of the masters, and it's very important.
Porteuse
And it's,
voilà. Merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Merci.
Bonne soirée.
Une autre question?
Is there another question?
Oui. Il y a ma pomme.
Ma pomme. Ah,
Ma pomme is asking a question.
Miam, miam.
So Charles says, yummy, yummy.
Ma pomme, tu peux démarrer ta
Ma
vidéo.
pomme is
Seulement
word for
Charles te
apple.
verra, on te verra pas.
So switch on your video so Charles can see you.
Ok.
Ça y est, Stéphane.
Hello,
Ça
Stéphane.
y est, tu me vois?
Oui.
Can you see me, Charles? Yes, I can see you.
Alors, je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais je te
So
vois
I'm not
plus.
really
Mais bon, c'est pas grave.
I don't really know why, but I
Je
can't see you
t'entends.
anymore. But I can hear you.
Je voudrais
So the question is,
te
I would
remercier, Charles,
I would
et
like to
remercier,
thank
bien
you,
sûr,
Charles,
l'équipe de Ivy.
and also thank
pour
the
cette
Institute for this opportunity.
Ici, en fait, Charles,
So
tu as
here,
déjà répondu à
I've
certaines de mes
already
questions.
answered a few of my
Et je
questions,
te remercie.
and thank you very
juste
much for
savoir,
that.
en
I
fait,
would like to know.
Moi, je n'avais jamais fait, effectivement, comme tu l'as dit, nous sommes dans une retraite.
I've never kind of had this approach that we are in a
Comme
retreat,
je n'avais jamais fait réellement de retraite
and because I'd never done a kind of individual
alors, j'ai
retreat,
l'impression d'avoir été
so I've
plongé
been
tout seul,
kind of in the
dans
depth
cette retraite
on this
individuelle que je souhaitais
solitary
faire,
retreat, which I wanted to
mais
do,
que
but
jusqu'ici, je n'avais pas encore
which I
pu
hadn't
mettre en
had
place.
put into
Aussi,
place,
je
basically,
dirais
or
que
organized. So I would like to say
l'esprit
also
dans cette
that the
retraite
mind during
semble
this
beaucoup
retreat
plus présent que le cœur.
seems much, the
C'est
mind
très
seems
difficile,
much more present
en
than
tout
the
cas
heart.
pour
So
moi,
it's very difficult for me
d'être dans cette retraite
to be in
individuelle
this
et
individual
de se
retreat
dire que
and to
je suis un
think
peu livré à moi-même.
that I'm kind of
Et
on
alors,
my
du coup,
own
ça
dealing with
m'inquiète,
myself, and I'm a
parce
little bit
que,
worried
comme dit Lama, en
because,
fait,
like Lama explains,
je n'arrive pas vraiment à réaliser comment je peux
I'm not really
à
aware
nouveau, comme tu l'as
how,
dit tout à l'heure,
like you explained it previously,
réaliser la bonté
to
des
realize
autres
the
quand
kindness of other
je suis tout
sentient
seul.
beings. Because
Alors,
I'm
oui,
on
je
my
réalise
own,
la bonté des
I
autres,
realize the
par exemple,
kindness of
ici à La
others
Réunion. Donc,
here in the Reunion
dans la
Islands.
Gompa, il y a beaucoup de
In
fourmis.
the Gompa, there's a
Bien
lot
dans
of
un
ants.
donc, je ne tue pas les fourmis, même si
I'm not
elles
killing the
attaquent un
ants,
peu tout.
even though they're kind
tout
of
le
eating
matériel,
everything
elles
and
sont toutes
attacking
présentes
everything,
partout.
and they seem to be
Je voudrais dire aussi
everywhere.
que je voudrais
I
savoir,
would also
Charles,
like
si
to
c'est ma
know,
question.
Charles, so this
En
is my
fait, se
question.
relier au maître, oui,
So to
j'essaie de le
associate
faire,
ourselves with
mais
the
en fait,
master,
j'ai
but
quelques difficultés
I have a few
parce que
difficulties
j'ai
because
souvent
I
l'impression,
often have
quand
this
je suis dans
impression
cette situation,
when I'm in this situation,
j'ai pas envie
I don't
de
really want
décevoir davantage le maître.
to
Et comme je
deceive the
réalise que
master,
je déçois le maître
and because
encore
I feel
davantage,
I am
parce
deceiving
que
the
comme
master,
dit
because,
Lama,
like Lama
en fait, on est
says,
très souvent lazy.
we're
Et
often
donc,
very, very
là, j'ai
lazy.
du temps, j'ai
And so
l'opportunité
here I
de
have the
faire ce
time, I
que
have
j'ai
the
à faire.
opportunity to work on particular
Et
things,
je fais du mieux que je peux,
but
mais
I'm
je
doing the
suis
best
quand
I
même conscient
can, but I'm still aware
en fait,
that
je le déçois.
that I'm deceiving
Et
him,
donc, ça me gêne. Alors, du
and
coup,
so I feel
quand
a bit bad
je
about
me
it, a bit
relie au
embarrassed,
maître,
and when I have to associate myself
eh
with
ben,
such a
j'ai
master,
quelque part une sorte
I feel
de mauvaise conscience.
I
Tu
feel a
disais
bit
tout à l'heure
bad about
culpabilité.
myself, and
Et
you were
donc,
describing
cette
this earlier on
culpabilité,
well.
elle est
So
très
again,
importante et elle
this
m'empêche
feeling bad about myself and having low self-worth,
d'avoir comment de vouloir me relier encore davantage au maître et réaliser la bonté des
and I
autres.
want to be able to
Des
associate
autres,
myself with the
parce
master and
que,
realize the
comme je l'ai
kindness of
dit,
others.
l'esprit dans
And
cette
because I want to
retraite
say the
individuelle
mind
me
in this
semble
solitary
quand même,
retreat
beaucoup plus développé,
seems
en tout
much
cas,
more
paraît beaucoup plus
developed,
présent que le
it
cœur.
seems much more
Donc,
developed than that of the
c'est ma
heart.
question,
So
Charles.
that's my
J'espère avoir
question.
été assez
I
clair.
hope it was clear.
Oui, oui, c'est
So Charles answers.
cette laziness.
So such a laziness that you're describing,
On la porte tous.
we all have this, we all have it.
Et c'est c'est justement
And
parce que
this
on
is
est
because
imparfait
we're not perfect.
que l'amour du maître a
The
tout
love
son sens.
of the master,
C'est parce qu'il est venu, parce
He
que
has
nous sommes
come
imparfaits.
because we are not perfect, right? He loves us because we are not perfect. He loves us because we are trying in our small dimension, on our small level, to become aware of our downfalls, and in order to try and change these. Because in our hearts there are also other things. There are other things apart from these downfalls, these negative aspects, and we also carry this. Like I was saying earlier on, so for Lama, what is going to make him happy? What is going to make our Lama happy? So what is going to make his mind rejoice? Not just from day and night, so I become totally perfect, and I'm able to accomplish everything, but in a way, this kind of humility, I accept my downfalls, not as excuses, but rather I accept them in this understanding of being imperfect, not perfect. But there is something else as well that I carry also, that all sentient beings carry within themselves, but at the same time recognizing, for the time being, without you, Lama, I'm like a lost child in the darkness. So you use this consciousness of, being aware of these imperfections, in the same way that the child in the darkness calls for help, calls for light, calls for the mother, calls for the father, whatever. So this kind of symbolizes this state of trust, of total trust. Sainte Thérèse, so a saint, I am just a little something full of kind of negativities, but the most important thing is that I continue to say, so for her it was Jesus, right? That I'm still able to continue to shout and to express my love for Jesus, and basically not to wait to be perfect to express this love, because basically we'll never express it if we wait up until that point. But at the point where you're at, where we are at, in your negativities, in our downfalls, in the depths of our negative emotions, where's the jealousy, desire, but to make, to create life or to generate the life of goodness. So this dimension of the master, of wisdom, this dimension of wisdom. And what Lama also says is that he's associated with all sentient beings related by this unconditional compassion. And this unconditional compassion does not judge your behavior. However, it's going to be a type of compassion which is in this total giving. But if you're not open, to this energy of compassion, to be saved from this situation, we could say, like, be saved in a way. For example, if you're in a dangerous situation, if at the point where you become aware of this downfall, and from the depths of your heart you wish, this obviously asks a kind of honesty, a feeling of honesty, a sincerity, and a certain determination. And with such an idea, you turn yourself completely, you relate towards this compassion, towards the compassion of the Lama. And you create the causes and conditions in order to be able to receive the blessings, the energy, and it's kind of this inner drive for the love that you have for sentient beings. You're prepared to make these efforts, but it's something which goes slowly, but not to kind of close yourself off into feeling bad for yourself,
identification,
or this kind of identification or
de ton être
crystallizing
intérieur
your
à
being,
quelque chose qui
inner being something
n'a
like
pas de possibilité de,
something which does
de
not have any
changer.
possible to
On peut tous
change.
changer.
We can all
C'est ce que
change.
Lama Yeshe disait.
And this is what Lama Yeshe
En
said.
tant qu'être humain,
As
on
sentient
a le
beings,
pouvoir
we
de
have the
transformer
capacity
notre
to
esprit.
transform our
On a
mind.
le pouvoir
We
de
have the
transformer
capacity
nos
to transform our
habitudes, même les
habits,
plus ancrées, même
even
les plus difficiles.
even the most
J'en suis
difficult,
désolé
even the
d'en
most
parler.
solid ones, even the most kind of
Ce qui est difficile
oldest
au
habits.
début,
He said,
par
what
rapport aux
is, even
habitudes,
Shantideva
ça
explains
devient
this,
petit à petit
but even
de plus
something
en
which is
plus, de
difficult
plus
at the
en plus
beginning,
facile.
the more we practice,
Donc,
the more it will
utiliser,
become
tu vois,
easier.
utilise
So
cet
use
état
this
d'esprit
state
qui
of
est
mind,
maintenant en toi.
which is,
Que ce
currently
soit la
existent in
paresse,
your
que ce soit
mind,
ceci.
with laziness or
Tu
whatsoever.
l'utilises
You use
et
it,
tu te tournes
and you
comme
turn.
par exemple, comme quand tu es malade,
So the same way
tu
that
vas
you
voir
are
un médecin.
you're
Tu
sick,
as
you go see a
l'impression,
doctor.
tu vois que cet état
So
d'esprit
you see that
est
this
comme une
state of
sorte de
mind
maladie
is kind of a
passagère,
sickness, a kind of
mais
temporary
qui a des
sickness,
inconvénients.
but which has
Et
some,
plus tu es conscient des
things which are
inconvénients,
unpleasant.
plus
And more you
tu vas
are
être,
kind of aware of
je
these
dirais,
negative aspects
empressé,
of
tu sais.
of the
Et
sickness, you're
vraiment,
going to hurry yourself
le désir, oui,
or have this
sincère, dans ton
desire
désir de trouver
to find
un médecin.
the doctor.
Eh bien, Charles, mais écoute, je
The
laisse
answer,
du temps
my
pour
promise,
les autres.
thank you very much, and
Charles,
I'm going to leave some time
je
for other
vous
people.
aime.
Oui,
I love you,
Et
Charles.
nous aussi, moi aussi.
I love you too, Charles says.
mon frère et ami.
And my brother and my
Allez,
friend.
merci à toi.
Merci, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Portez-vous bien tous.
Take good care.
Votre télé va s'éteindre dans 5 minutes. Appuyez sur une touche pour continuer.
So the TV is going to switch off in 5 minutes. You have to press a button. So somebody needs to press a button on something for the TV not to switch off.
Il y a maintenant
So now we
une autre
have,
question, Charles.
there's another
Yes.
question.
C'est Catherine.
Catherine, question from Catherine.
Bonjour Catherine.
Hello, Catherine.
Démarrer ma vidéo.
Oui,
Oui, ça y est.
s'il vous plaît.
Can you see me, Charles?
Alors, ma
So, the
question,
question
j'ai
is,
beaucoup aimé,
I
Charles,
liked
quand
a
vous
lot
vous avez dit,
what you said.
Quand un être me fait du mal,
When a sentient being causes us some harm,
mais que ça le rend heureux,
but
par
if it
exemple,
makes
il
them
me vole
happy,
quelque chose,
for example, they
ou,
steal something from us,
si ça le rend heureux, je dois être contente de son
Ouais,
but if
ouais.
they steal something, they're happy,
Mais
I
en
should
même
be
temps,
happy about it.
si,
But on the other
s'il me
hand,
vole quelque chose,
but if he
il
steals
rentre
something,
dans une
he's
voie karmique, il
he's
va
going
faire
in
de
a way
mal.
which is accumulating
Plus
negative
tard.
karma. In the
Et
future, you
c'est-à-dire, il va
experience the
obtenir de moi un
suffering.
objet
So he's going
qui
to
va
get
le
an object,
satisfaire dans
which is going to make
l'instant,
him
donc je vais
happy
être contente de
temporarily.
son bonheur.
So I'm happy for that temporary
Mais en
happiness.
même temps, je
But on
sais
the other
qu'il
hand,
il va entretenir les causes
but
de
he's
son
also
malheur.
going to maintain the causes to continue such a
Il
behavior
a comme empreinte le vol.
because he has some kind of
Donc,
imprints
je
of
vais à la
stealing.
fois
That's why he acts in
désolée
such a
pour
way.
lui et heureuse d'un bonheur
So
immédiat
I'm happy for this temporary
et
happiness, but
malheureuse
also I
pour
feel
un
sorry
malheur ultime. Voilà.
for in
Oui,
the kind of
c'est
long
ça.
run. So that's
Mais en
exactly
même temps,
right,
ça veut
Charles
dire que d'un
answers.
côté,
So it means that on
tu
one hand,
cultives toujours plus
you're cultivating
l'amour,
the love, this
L'amour,
love that we're
c'est
talking
que
about.
tu veux vraiment
This love
faire
that
de
you
ta
want,
vie
that your
une
life
source
for you
de
to be,
bonheur pour l'autre.
for it to be a spring or a
Et
source
la
of happiness for
compassion
all sentient
qui
beings,
a
and the
la compassion
compassion,
éclairée par la
which is
sagesse
kind
de la
of
compréhension,
lit
que
basically
cette
by the
personne-là,
wisdom
en même
of
temps,
understanding, that on the other hand,
évidemment, crée des
obviously, this
causes,
person is also creating the causes
dans le futur ou
for
dans
in the
cette vie,
future or in this life
soit d'être volé ou
to,
soit
to
de,
have
en tout
that
cas
people steal
d'expérimenter
things from
la
them
souffrance.
or to experience
Donc, à
some
ce
kind of
moment-là,
form
tu
of suffering.
cultives,
So in the
tu fais
same hand,
l'expérience de
you're
la compassion.
basically experiencing compassion,
Et à un certain niveau,
and
je
on a
pense
certain
que,
level,
si
if
tu sais à un moment donné
if you know
qui
that
est
a
cette
certain
personne,
who this person is,
peut-être que
maybe
à travers ces deux pouvoirs
Maybe
immenses
through
que
these
sont
two
l'amour et la
power,
compassion,
of the two
peut-être que tu
incredible
pourras
powers
peut-être
of
aider
love and
directement
compassion, you
la
might be
personne,
able in the future to help this person
peut-être de
directly.
façon plus, je dirais, plus tangible.
Maybe in a more tangible way, you might be able to help
vois ce
that
que je veux
person.
dire?
Can you see what I'm saying?
Oui, je crée un lien karmique
The answer.
peut-être.
So she says,
Oui, par exemple,
she means like creating a karmic link, and Charles answers, that's more an indirect link, but maybe by the power of your prayer, So for example, when you say, may it bring you happiness, so we're not talking about a temporary happiness just in this life. So we're thinking about it might create a situation, an internal situation, which enables the other person to become aware that the happiness does not, lay within these objects, these material objects, right? That there's something else, right? And maybe that's something. So, for example, there's a story of Mahasattva, the prince which gave the body to the tigress who's going to eat her baby cubs. So, by the vow of compassion, he gave up his own body. So there was the mummy tiger and the 4 little babies, so maybe quite fat, chubby little cubs. But by the power of compassion, they became the 5 disciples of the Buddha. So they became a very close incarnation of the Buddha Shakyamuni. So just by the power of compassion. So it's something which we cannot imagine. So again, this power of compassion, it's really hard to imagine what it means. So just by giving up this object which has been stolen, by the power of love and compassion, we're able to direct our energy towards this person, and in order for that person to be able to understand the actual meaning and implications of such an action. So maybe there might be something in their mind which can kind of wake up, or something might happen just by the power of compassion. It's so powerful for us to purify and for the other person as well. Does that make sense to you? She answers, yes, that makes sense. On the other hand, anyway, if you're in this dimension of giving, who stole you something, anyway, it can only have a positive aspect on that mind, on your state of mind, and then it kind of, we're talking about this is why you talk about that dedication is very important, because this accumulation of this positive energy, you kind of direct it towards something specific. Something general and something specific. For example, may I be able to be giving more and more. So that's the kind of general aspect. But here in the specific aspect, it would be, so may this person experience a temporary happiness, but may they also find a path of the internal or kind of inner happiness, and that of no longer stealing. Thank you.
Une autre question.
There's another question.
C'est David.
This is David.
Hey, bonjour David.
Bonjour David. Hello David.
Merci beaucoup pour cet enseignement, c'est très touchant.
So David says, thank you very much for your teaching. It's very touching and very profound. So for a few months,
de naviguer entre deux extrêmes.
I'm kind of falling in the two extremes. Sometimes where I can meditate and study a lot, where it doesn't really happen, but there's nothing really happening, no particular results. And then in other times,
je vais avoir une ouverture de cœur.
I'm going to have an openness in my heart, and for a few hours I'm going to feel kind of sincere love, very deep love. So kind of feel a bit tearful,
à tout le monde. Je suis vraiment dans une attitude très différente.
And I'm in a very different kind of attitude.
Compassion,
a lot of compassion, a lot of compassion, and people around me are very surprised to see this. My close ones are surprised to see this, and I feel just from the heart rather than from the head. So I've kind of been swinging between these two things. So I want to say how to kind of help my practice to evolve, to kind of develop in these heart states of minds rather than my head states of mind, but not to become too attached, to not kind of stay in a kind of mental level. So Charles answers that the importance is that you need to continue to trust your aspiration and continue to cultivate your aspiration again and again and again and again.
Quand tu manges, quand
when
tu
you
bois,
eat,
quand tu
when you
marches,
drink,
quand tu
when you
t'habilles,
walk, when you get dressed,
quand tu pratiques
when you're
formellement,
practicing
c'est-
in a formal manner.
Ce qui fait la pratique, c'est l'esprit.
The practice is
C'est pas
basically the
la
mind,
position ou
not the
l'encens
position.
ou je sais pas. Tu sais. C'est l'esprit.
The important
Donc,
thing
à
is
chaque
the
fois,
mind.
dans la
So,
présence
in the
de
presence
ton cœur,
of your heart, so
aspiration.
cultivate this aspiration
à faire de ta vie
and
une
to
source
use your
continue,
life as a continual source,
inconditionnelle
unconditional
de
source
bienfaits pour les autres.
of being beneficial towards other sentient
Chaque
beings.
chose que
And
tu vas
each
faire
thing that you might do
va
will
faire partie de cette
be part
transformation.
of this transformation.
Et puis, un petit peu quelque part, le piège,
And the kind of trap
le défaut
or the
qui
negative
pourrait,
point
s'insinuer,
which might
dans
kind
cette,
of crawl
dans cette
up
démarche,
or appear
c'est une partie de notre esprit, tu sais,
is a part of
qui
our
est là en
mind
train
which
d'attendre
is
justement
waiting
que cette expérience
for this experience
d'ouverture,
of openness and to giving oneself up.
alors ça vient quand, tu vois?
So when are we
Non,
going
c'est
to
pas
get there?
maintenant.
Why is it not now?
Donc, de là, automatiquement,
And
il
from
va y
that kind
avoir
of space, there was
un
going to
jugement,
be some kind of a judgment,
ce qui est absolument inutile.
which is completely
Ça
useless.
se passe pas à ce niveau-là.
It doesn't happen in
Et-
such a way,
Et en même temps,
on such a level.
il y a comme quelque chose qui
So it's also
malgré
that there's
tout,
something
demeure dans cette
remaining
sorte un peu d'appréhension
in this kind of
personnelle,
apprehension, this personal
que
apprehension
tu veux une
that you
expérience.
want a particular
Parce que
experience.
qu'est-ce que l'on en sait tu
Because
sais,
what do we know about these
de nos
things?
expériences?
What do we know
d'éveil?
about our experiences of kind of
Bien sûr
awakening or
que,
waking up? Of
tout à l'heure,
course.
Stéphane parlait
So
de
Stéphane was
cette
talking about
situation de
this
paresse.
situation
Ça aussi, ça fait partie
of being
de notre
lazy.
apprentissage.
So that's also part of our
Si
learning
on ne
experience.
passe pas,
So if we don't go
ces étapes-là,
through these stages,
comment
How
aspirer à la
can we
lumière
as-
si tu ne passes pas à travers ces zones d'ombre?
if you aspire towards light, how can you not expect to go through these areas of shadow and
Dans nos
darkness?
échecs,
So it's in our
on
failures
apprend le plus.
that we learn the most,
Donc,
actually.
accepte aussi
So
les
accept
situations
these
aussi,
situations
difficiles
which are difficult,
quand tu ne te sens plus
and when you
relié,
feel you don't associate it or relate it or link to your heart,
maître intérieur,
and to always kind of trust
qui te
your,
montre,
kind of
le
listen to
chemin,
your inner
apprendre.
teacher who is
Là,
showing
ce qui
you
est, tu
and
sais,
helping you to teach or
mis en
helping you to
place,
learn
c'est sur
what you need to progress.
le non-désir, la non-attente.
So not kind of developing like non-desire and not expecting
Jamais se
anything,
décourager.
and do never feel
De
discouraged.
garder.
And
Lama
Lama also said,
si tu attends une
if you
réalisation
wait for a
rapide,
realization, a
tu
quick
fais
one,
des efforts particuliers
and you're doing
dans un
particular
domaine, et tu
efforts in a
attends
particular
la
area,
réalisation,
and you're waiting for such a
tu
realization,
sais, tu vas te la guetter,
you're waiting for it, you're kind of like
Donc, là, ça veut dire
waiting
que
and waiting and
tout-
waiting. So that
toutes
means
les
that
choses qui vont
all
venir
the things which
peut-être
come,
s'opposer ou du moins
which kind of
comme
oppose
autant de
themselves,
dérapages
or
autant-
things which might make you,
tu ne pourras jamais les utiliser comme des
all
apprentissages.
these different obstacles which try and present
Ça ne
themselves,
sera
you're
que
not able to
des
take them
erreurs.
on as learning
Et donc, de là,
experiences.
une
So
forme,
because
tu
of
sais,
that,
tu construis comme l'être
And you've
aux
kind of-
erreurs, tu sais.
you've kind of
Celui qui
like
n'arrivera jamais, tu sais.
you kind of develop
Mais
this
si
idea,
tu
the person who's
gardes
never
cette
able to do
ouverture,
anything.
parce
So
que
if
tu
you're
as
able
soif, tu sais.
to be open because you're thirsty, and you're thirsty for changing your
Alors,
mind. So
Trungpa Rinpoche, il disait,
Trungpa
de
Rinpoche
travailler-
used to say,
il disait de travailler sur nos névroses. Ça veut
so
dire
he
de
says you're
travailler sur
working on
tous-
your
sur tous ces
neurosis,
aspects
on
un
all
peu
these
puants
different
dans
aspects,
notre
all
vie,
stinky
de
aspects
notre
of our
esprit.
mind.
Il dit,
He used
ça
to
devient
say,
des ornements, tu sais.
these become
Des
like
ornements de la
ornaments,
vie.
like jewels, in the same way that the
Parce
deities
que
have ornaments,
Tu
you know,
as le
because
courage de travailler
you have the
sur
courage
les aspects les plus
to
sombres
work on
de ton
aspects,
être.
the most obscure aspects of
pas
your
le cas
being.
de ce que tu
So
me
this is
disais,
may not be what you're explaining to me right now,
Et
but
tu vois, au nom de cet idéal, tu sais,
this
le plus grand
ideal,
que toi,
which is greater than
auquel
you,
tu es prêt à donner
and to
ta
be
vie,
able to give up your life
alors,
basically to work for
tu veux
something.
bien utiliser.
So in that case, you're prepared to
dit,
take
par
upon these negative
Juste
aspects
pour
to
la
work towards
réalisation,
that.
par exemple, de
So even
l'impermanence
just
et de
the
la mort.
realization of the
Si au
impermanence
fond
and
de ton
death,
cœur,
within
tu te
your
dis,
heart, you think,
je suis prêt à consacrer
I'm prepared
toute ma vie
to devote all of my life
une vie entière,
one entire life,
juste pour la réalisation de
just for,
l'impermanence.
just for realization of impermanence and death,
Tout ce que tu vas
then
vivre
everything
pendant
you're going to
toute ta vie,
live throughout your whole life
ça ne sera pas un fardeau.
is not going to be
Ça aura
like a
un sens.
burden. It's going to
Ça va
have
te
meaning.
donner la force
It's going to give you the
d'accepter
strength
toutes
to
les
accept
difficultés que tu
all
vas
the different
rencontrer.
difficulties which you might encounter, and
Par effet secondaire, je sais pas
in
quoi.
a secondary
En
effect, in the kind of as a side
En
effect,
fait, la
basically the
réalisation,
realization.
je ne connais absolument rien.
But I
Mais
don't
ce
know
qu'on
anything.
dit,
I have
c'est que
no clue about
elle vient
realizations. But
dans
what
un
is said
esprit
is that it
totalement
comes in a
ouvert et
mind which is
détendu.
completely open and
L'esprit
relaxed.
qui se
The mind
crispe
which is very tight
sur
and
un sujet,
quelque part
tense
tense in blocks or prevents the realization to come about.
Tu vois, si
And
tu es
so,
prêt à
if you
donner
are prepared
toute ta vie pour une seule réalisation,
to give your life for all the realizations such as impermanence and death,
comme entre guillemets comme effet secondaire.
so as a side
Je sais pas
effect,
comment on dit,
I'm not really sure you say if a side effect is the right word,
dans cet état d'esprit,
but in
tu
such a
ça
state
te
of
vient
mind,
plus rapidement, en fait.
you're able to generate it in a much quicker way.
Effectivement, de ne rien attendre,
So
jamais
don't
se
expect
décourager,
anything and never give up,
et
never
d'avoir,
feel discouraged,
cette sorte de
and always
à la fois de bienveillance
and
avec
this
soi-même,
kindness
mais
and good
aussi de-
kind heart
de
towards oneself,
garder cette
but to
énergie,
keep this energy,
garder la confiance dans
keep,
le chemin que tu
you know,
as choisi de prendre.
have confidence in the path that you have
Ce chemin
decided to
intérieur.
choose, this
De faire
inner
confiance.
path. Have trust in that,
De savoir que,
and to know,
comme tout être,
like
on
all
peut
sentient
se
beings,
transformer
we could
et
transform
changer
ourselves and
dans une
change.
sorte d'espoir.
There is always
Ce
a
n'est
hope
pas
for that,
un espoir ordinaire.
and this is not an
Mais je
ordinary
dirais que
type of
c'est
hope.
plus dans l'énergie de
I think it's
l'amour, tu sais,
the energy of love,
l'énergie de vie.
an energy of life.
Ça a du sens?
Does that make sense?
Oh, parfait, c'est parfait, merci.
Ok. Merci.
Merci.
Thank you very much. That answered my question. Thank you. So,
Une autre question
another question
de Pierre.
by Peter. Pierre.
Pierre. Pierre.
Oui, bonjour Charles.
Oui, bonjour
Pierre.
Pierre.
Hello, Charles.
Bonjour. J'étais au Nyungné
To the
en
question
janvier.
of Pierre. So I was
Oui,
doing
oui,
the
je me
Nyungnes
souviens
in
de ça.
January. Yes, I remember very
Alors,
clearly.
j'ai une question
So,
qui
I
n'est
have a
pas du tout
question,
une question personnelle.
Which is
Je sais
not
pas
at
si
all
ça
a
va,
personal question.
intéresser,
So I
parce
don't know if
que
it's interesting
la
for
plupart des
anybody else,
questions sont
because most of the
personnelles,
questions
j'ai l'impression,
seemed
Non, non,
quite
tu-
personal.
Tu
No, you can
poses toutes les questions que tu veux.
ask me
Tout est
any
bien.
type of question you
Alors,
want.
c'est par
Anything
rapport-
is a good
C'est
question.
par rapport à la mort.
So in relation to
Je
death,
suis médecin, je
Oui.
vois
So I'm
tous
a
les jours
doctor,
des gens qui meurent,
and
notamment
so
du
I see
Covid,
people who
et pas seulement
died
du
every day
Ma
in
question,
relation
c'était par
to
rapport à l'enseignement de l'AMRI.
coronavirus. So in relation to the teaching of the Lamri,
Au
in
sujet du...
relation to,
L'état qu'on a au moment de la mort
so at the
est
moment of
déterminant
death,
pour orienter, entre guillemets, sur une renaissance favorable ou défavorable.
so how to take
de
a
renaissance
good kind of
inférieure
type
ou de
of
renaissance,
rebirth or low rebirth or high
supérieure.
rebirth.
Donc la question
So the question
pour
is,
qui sont en détresse respiratoire, qui sont
so
dans
the people
le
who
coma,
have
qui sont
a
ventilés,
hard problem, breathing,
comment ça peut
who are
se
in
passer
coma,
pour eux,
so
puisqu'ils
what
n'ont
is
pas,
their situation?
leur état
Because
de conscience est complètement
their
perturbé,
state of
ils sont dans le
mind
coma,
is completely
même si
disturbed,
c'est
they're in a coma.
des fois artificiel.
So maybe
Est-ce
if it's in a kind of
que-
artificial
comment-
coma,
j'arrive pas à
so
comprendre comment ça peut
I'm
se
not
passer
really clear
pour eux.
how
Et puis
what
bon,
what
c'est
would
mélanger
happen
la
to them,
question pour tous les
and
gens
if we
qui
and
meurent
for
en
all
état
the
de
people who
maladie
die
d'Alzheimer ou
with
autre,
Alzheimer's
donc, qui n'ont pas
or
du tout,
who
leur
were-
pleine faculté,
who are not at
intellectuelle.
all are fully aware, basically, of
Oui.
what's going on.
J'ai pas tout
So
saisi parce que
Charles says,
c'était
I didn't
la
clearly
connexion était
understand
pas
what
très
you
bonne,
say
mais
because the connection
j'essaie
is
de
not very
répondre et
good.
tu vas me
But I'm
dire
going to
si
try and
ça,
answer, and you
si
can
ça
tell me
correspond un
if
peu
it's
à ce que tu disais.
if I'm answering properly your question or
Effectivement,
not. Okay.
donc les,
So it's true.
au moment de la mort,
At the moment of death,
l'état d'esprit
the
est
state of mind
primordial.
is incredibly
Après, il
important.
est déterminé par
Afterwards, it's determined by
comment la vie s'est passée,
how
comment la
how we've lived our life,
a vécu sa vie.
how the person
Donc c'est pas non
has
plus
lived their life. So it's not
sans
particularly
cause que la personne
causeless,
fasse
you know,
une
that the
telle
person,
difficulté au moment de la mort.
you know, experiences
Mais
particular
en même
difficulties at
temps,
the time of death, but at the
elle
same
a quelque
time,
part, entre
the
guillemets,
person
dans le cas que
has
tu me décris,
that
là
you're
où toi
describing
tu
right
es,
now.
pardon,
At the moment
dans
you
le cas où toi
are
tu es présent,
seem to be present at that
il y a
moment.
justement ce
There's
dernier moment
there's this
de
last
mort qui va
moment
déterminer
of life which
la
is going to
continuité
determine the
pour
continuity
la conscience, dans
for the
quelle
consciousness,
direction
then which
il va
direction
aller.
this consciousness
Toi,
is
là,
going to
tu peux
go.
intervenir.
So here, at this point, you can intervene.
Bien sûr, plus
Of course,
dans l'ordre de l'invisible que en tant que
in the
médecin.
kind of invisible way,
Bon, je
rather
sais pas
than as
si
a
il y a des
doctor. I'm not
possibilités
sure
pour
if there's a
toi
possibility
de,
for you
par
to
exemple, juste de réciter des mantras,
recite some mantras.
de,
I don't know if that's possible.
de comment d'être dans cette sorte
To
d'énergie.
be in this
libre.
energy.
Tu voulais intervenir?
Non, réciter.
You wanted to say something?
Non,
So
je réponds très
Pierre
brièvement à
answers
ta question. Réciter des mantras dans le feu de l'action.
So I can't, mentally I can recite some mantras, but in the middle of, you know, dealing with these sick people, I cannot really do that.
Mais ça veut dire que,
So Charles answers,
toi,
so that
tu es
means
dans une
that
sorte d'intervention d'urgence, c'est ça?
you're kind of in emergency situation, is that correct?
Et donc,
Pierre answers yes.
tout ton travail consiste
So all the work that
à,
you're doing is basically involving or maintaining the body alive, is that correct?
Oui.
Okay.
Pierre answers
donc
yes.
Ça, c'est une réalité.
So this is a reality, okay? So is it possible
intervenir la dimension de
for
l'esprit
the kind of mental or the consciousness dimension,
pleinement conscience à travers ton,
and you are fully
ton
aware
intérieur
in your inner kind of
et tu sais bien
spiritual
que,
path,
si
and you know very clearly whether it's possible or not
l'urgence
to basically be able to fulfill all the functions of this, you know, medical emergency. And on the other hand, like
au début, je parlais
and like I was talking about this kind of permeating the mind, of the mind, of the heart. So basically, you can permeate your heart with the presence of the, you know, medicine Buddha, for example. So just the it can be just the color, it can be the you know, the eyes of the medicine Buddha. So just that you have that you carry this with you, this kind of practice. So you're not just this doctor with these tools and the face mask and etc. But you also have this particular energy. And what manifests this energy is the mantra that you don't need particularly to recite aloud, but you can just, you cultivate it, and if it's a kind of permeates your mind or permeates your being, then just by touching, it's not you're just touching is Peter the doctor, it's Peter the expression of such an energy, and at that point, and just a mantra, there's 1, 2 mantras, because you have completely already permeated your mental continuum with the mantra of the Buddha, the medicine Buddha. At that point, just by touching the person, and in the measure, if you can, I don't know if it's possible with the mask or not, but if you can blow on the person's body, and in the depths of your heart, you have the profound conviction that there's something essential which has been happening for the consciousness of the person who is lying in front of you. So you must feel trust in that. And the second thing is essential is your compassion. If you have these two things, the practice that you do for the person, she doesn't need... It doesn't need to be extensive practice, don't you do these rituals, these complicated rituals which take for hours, but just a minute, or there's a fraction of a minute, or fraction of a seconds, where it can be you're nourishing this person with this double energy, with this total trust in the presence in yourself of the medicine Buddha that you have cultivated and, you know, on the side, and also the compassion that you have for this sentient being, because for this sentient being is not just the body. is kind of like a fish out of a water. So at that point, you're looking after the body as much as you can, but also you have this vision, this much more profound vision, that this being is also a mind, and also this mind which is kind of about to go somewhere, you know, in a particular, you know, if it's a mind which is about to leave the body, so you're looking after the body, and you're also looking after the mind in the same way. So this relates you to the consciousness kind of level. It's about how you're creating a link between you and the medicine Buddha, or whatever practice. If it's Chan Rezik, you do. And maybe for you, it's more the medicine Buddha. And, you know, we're talking about these, compassion is kind of like these hooks, you know, this is how it's described. The mind is kind of like a loop, and your compassion is like a hook. And you have this kind of decision to kind of take on, to hook the mind of the other through your compassion. Does that make sense to you?
Oui, tout à fait.
So Peter answers and he says, thank you very much, yes, I understand, but my problem is basically I have total trust in the capacity to do something. My difficulty is all the people who do not have the people around them to do what you've just described, that they're on their own, basically. So to have this kind of, to help these types of people.
Excuse-moi Pierre, mais là,
so I'm sorry, Charles answers, because
les personnes qui sont tout seules, j'ai absolument rien capté.
After you said the people who are alone, I can't hear anything. I can't hear very clearly what you're saying. The connection is very poor. My problem is basically, I'm worried about the people who do not have people next to them to recite these mantras. So people who die alone in their comas without anybody around them, so they're kind of out of reach. So how, what happens at the moment of death, and what can they hope for?
Juste après comment se passe leur mort, là il y a.
Again, I didn't hear what you said. Charles says the connection is very poor.
Éviter les renaissances inférieures.
Are you saying to avoid kind of lower rebirths? And Pierre replies, yes, yes. If there's nobody there to help them next to them. So Charles says.
Cette question, en fait,
so this question.
Elle révèle toute la souffrance inconcevable du.
So it kind of shows all, you know, the suffering that we have in these kind of cyclic existence, these rebirth and cyclic existence. There's these hundreds of thousands of people who die of this, not only of this virus, you know. You know, these children, these, you know. Old people, whoever, adults, and all the animals, you know, who are also sentient beings, who are dying all the time, every single day. So, from our side, we must try to develop this compassion, which is all-encompassing, which helps us to feel kind of responsible, to use each instant of our life as a way to respond to the suffering of all sentient beings, and knowing that all, you know, the numberless sentient beings at each instant are dying of distress and dying in, you know, in solitude. So from one point of view, it's completely unbearable. We can't, you know, it's so sad, so upsetting. But we must feel in the depth of our heart this dimension that it is unbearable, not just the kind of, you know, to have some kind of inner experience of I don't know what. But rather as a way to activate, in the same way that you need to, you know, blow on the fire for it to get bigger. But what characterizes this compassion in the Mahayana is the action. And from the difference of Hinayana, that you have compassion but it's not the development of the compassion doesn't go up until the action. So when you're Mahayana, you're supposed to be involved in action. So this kind of awareness of such. So there's this image, maybe you know, which is very touching, very moving. They say, for the ordinary beings, the suffering of sentient beings is like putting a hair on your hand. If you don't look at your hand, you won't feel anything. And for a bodhisattva, the suffering of others is like it's like you have a hair in your eye, so it's just completely unbearable. So not for an instant, it's just completely unbearable. So it's basically coming to this level of awareness of the suffering of other sentient beings. So what you're talking about, it falls within this category. So to not basically think by your own kind of by this kind of miraculous power to be able to involve, but at every instant to kind of develop this compassion is benefiting the world and benefiting sentient beings in the short term and in the long term. Maybe right now it's more maybe in the long term, but what you're doing is that these sentient beings are dying in the distress, in solitude, in fear, in anxiety, is because they have not met sentient beings who have this kind of this ideal, this human ideal which you might be carrying. So you, through this kind of this actualization and permeating this humanity carried within your heart and this compassion which you carry, means that also all sentient beings that you meet in your life, the person, the cashier at the supermarket, the patient that you might meet, the person in the steps, in the alleyway that you meet, whoever you might meet, you're enabling these beings to discover a dimension of this reality of compassion. And these sentient beings also, meet these sentient beings which you might never meet. Physically speaking here, okay? But there's something which could be transmitted throughout this humanity as much as you can in a total humility is always try to transmit throughout sentient beings who you might meet. Across all sentient beings that you might meet. So if you're able to be touched by such a humanity, they will also be able to touch other people, and at some point they might be, at some point that sentient beings might be less of them dying alone and dying in distress. Does that make sense to you?
Absolument.
So Pierre answers, yes, it makes a lot of sense, and I say thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Peut-être encore une question?
So maybe one last question.
Une question de Diana.
A question of Diana. I think it comes from Russia.
Allez.
Vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Do you hear me?
Bonjour
Diana says,
Diana.
do you hear me?
En fait,
Hello, Diana.
En fait, c'est pas ma question parce que je
This
suis
is
en
not
train
my
de traduire
question.
tout ce qui se passe ici en russe.
Allez.
I'm translating everything here into Russian. I have two questions from people listening. So can I ask you these questions?
Merci.
So thank you very much.
Comment on peut s'entraîner pour,
How can we
pour
train
s'habituer à nous relier aux autres?
To train in kind of connecting ourselves with other people, because I understand that everything is interconnected.
Dans ma perception, les
That in my
choses
perception,
existent séparément.
things seem to
et
appear
sont perçues
separately
par moi séparément.
and are perceived by
Ils ont
me separately,
leur réalité, mais je ne comprends pas cette réalité.
but I cannot understand their reality.
Donc comment je peux m'entraîner?
How
Vous pouvez me
can
donner
I
un
train?
conseil?
It's good. Do you have any advice regarding this kind of training?
C'est
So Charles answers.
par exemple quand tu
So for example,
manges un
when you're eating,
Когда ты что-то ешь, это вопрос Нади, который напечатан в чате.
quand tu manges un fruit par exemple,
when you're eating a fruit,
Например, ешь какой-то фрукт.
de ne pas seulement le manger avec la
Don't
bouche, mais de le
eat
manger
it
avec le
just
cœur.
with your mouth, but eat it with your heart.
Ok. Je peux continuer? Ok, de le manger avec le cœur, de
Eat
la
this fruit with your heart,
gratitude,
with the heart of gratitude,
cette
gratitude,
beauté qu'il y a à
and this
l'intérieur de
remembering this
l'apple,
kindness, which is present really within the apple.
entraîne ton
And you're
cœur
training your
à
heart
cette reconnaissance.
in recognition,
La
basically, and acknowledgement,
merci
and
la
thinking
gratitude.
thank you, and training in this gratitude.
Et tu vois, c'est de...
You see, it's basically,
on n'est pas habitué
we're not used to
à faire vivre
in
notre être intérieur.
kind of
Donc c'est comme quelqu'un qui voudrait
nourishing or making our inner being
un
live.
marathon,
It's basically
mais
somebody
qui n'a
who wants to run a
jamais
marathon,
descendu des escaliers, qui a
but who
pas
has
toujours
never
ascension.
basically, you know,
Donc,
walked down the steps and who's always been used to taking the lift up and down. So it's basically you need to go through this process and to begin by stretching, basically, which is basically going to enable you to do this is the wish to do this, and the wish and to know that this wish, this feeling of separation is difficult, and that it brings about more solitude and kind of aggravates this feeling of feeling separated, abandoned, and so forth. So to see on the one hand the disadvantages of such a situation, and at the same time to understand within our own heart that's not the reality. That the reality in itself, that we are all intimately and profoundly connected one another. It's just an awareness that is not kind of been woken up. The reality, if right now I can talk to you, you're at thousands of kilometers, but just imagine the amount of people who have participated for such an interaction to be able to be possible. Without the sentient beings, it's not possible. It's impossible. So, at the beginning, you can see things as being separate, like, building blocks, separate building blocks. But the more you kind of enter into this reality as it actually is, the more you can actually appreciate the interaction, the energy of various sentient beings. The lives of all these different people who have enabled such a situation to come about. So if you imagine, like I mentioned previously, earlier on, just for a mouthful of food, just one mouthful of food, imagine, since you're born, how many mouthfuls of foods have you had? In order for you to be able to stay alive, in order for you to be able to practice the Dharma, be able to study the Dharma, for be able to study, to encounter and meet all these various masters. They have given so much energy. All sentient beings have given so much energy for those things to come about. So in your actions, everyday actions, so you see right here, I'm sitting on a cushion. The cushion itself is the kindness of sentient beings. The clothes that I'm wearing is the kindness of sentient beings. The microphone is the kindness of sentient beings. If I can read, is the kindness of sentient beings. If I can speak, is the kindness of sentient beings. You cannot see anything which is excluded, which does not come from the kindness of sentient beings. So when you leave your heart being touched by such a thing, when I'm talking about touched, I'm speaking really, I'm not, don't imagine that you're being touched. It's more about a feeling. It's kind of like being aware of a particular presence. It's talking about kindness. It's, we're eating an apple and we're eating our meal. It's given us energy and we feel satisfied at the end of the meal.
de remercier, tu vois.
It's kind of thanking, basically, to recognize, to acknowledge,
de dédier.
and also then to dedicate.
En fait, on n'est jamais
we're never separated, actually.
Tu sais, même dans la dimension
even in the dimension
de la vacuité, une façon
in emptiness,
la vacuité,
the way we explain emptiness is that all things depend all depend on another, and there's nothing which exists from its own side.
Toi,
so for you, you are just the expression of this combination of these elements, which are impermanent and interdependent, always interconnected at all these other elements, at all these various causes and conditions. And this is more the kind of dimension of emptiness.
Et cultiver, c'est dans ton cœur.
And to cultivate this kind of recognition of the kindness of other sentient beings within your heart.
L'autre question.
And the other question?
Rapide, parce que
quickly,
comment on peut combattre en fait cette culpabilité et
how can we go against this kind of feeling bad for ourselves and feeling embarrassed and feeling like a low self-worth? How do we go against this?
Tu sais, c'est comme si
so it's the same, it's kind of, you know,
si tu as trop de sel dans un plat,
if you have too much salt in a dish, you can't eat it. If you don't put any salt at all, it's not very tasty at all.
L'énergie du regret,
so there's this energy of regret,
elle est nécessaire.
Which is necessary, and it's positive,
fait partie des
and it's also part of the four opposing forces when you do these practices of confession or purification. So it's essential, such a state of mind. And we also talk about, in the 7 qualities of the Bodhisattva, of the quality of embarrassment, basically. And if you think about, if you look at the vows of Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva vows are the last ones, there is also, if you break your vows, if you fully break your vows, if you do not have any kind of embarrassment or shame for having, performed such an action, and you have no kind of embarrassment regarding, the way the master might view this or the Buddhas might view such an action. So in this double kind of presence, or this inner experience which is occur of embarrassment and shame regarding, in relation to others, and also looking at towards yourself, so this would be more an aspect of self-respect. So you're not only just bad. Behind, there is this capacity, and this is what Lama explained. So as sentient beings, we have the capacity to bring happiness to others. But if you identify your being as this dimension, as this black aspect or this negative aspect, you're not able to live this kind of spark. So, following this inner path through what you might have experienced when you have given yourself up to others, when an animal,
ou un ami, ou un parent. Cette sorte d'énergie, tu sais, que tu as
or your friends or your parents, this type of energy which you have within you, which comes out of you,
flot d'énergie, d'amour bienveillant,
which is like a flow of energy of love and compassion. So that's your true nature. If you have to do reference to yourself, that's what you need to, take as a reference point. So all of us, we all have this, shadow of obscurity, of self-grasping. But this is not our reality. This is not. It's not our true nature. Otherwise,
à quoi bon que les Bouddhas
what's the point that Buddhas kind of manifest? What's the point of all these teaching? What's all these points of all these purification methods? Because, like His Holiness Drukshan says, if we are just a piece of coal, you know, there's no point cleaning it because it will be as dirty on the outside as on the inside. But that's not our true nature. So, what you must not just believe it like a concept. This is what you're carrying. Spitting in the microphone, sorry about that. So, you carrying this energy within you when you are kind of in this idea of giving yourself up by smiling, simply by smiling, giving yourself up to others, by this presence of carrying others, of, you know, being able to listen to others, you know, this way you're looking at other people, by this food that you are sharing, all these different things that you're carrying, this wish for healing the others and their suffering, because the others also carry this suffering in a similar way that you do, of grasping, of feeling alone, and also the suffering of anger, the suffering of jealousy, of pride and arrogance. So this is all the suffering that sentient beings carry within them, and that every time that you make this determination with all the little ways that you can, from the depths of your heart, to ease such a suffering. So whether it's something of a sentient being, whoever it might be that you might meet, the expression your expression is the way that it reveals your true reality. So if you kind of distance yourself from such a reality, so for example, I was given this example at the beginning. So when I was saying that like an idiot, I close myself out, it's not who I really am, it's not my true nature, it's because you're pushed. Because your mind is not permeated, is not, you know, completely one with these kind of sparks of love and compassion. But you can't do it on, you know, immediately. Nobody can do it on their own immediately. You know, the Buddha did this, it took him 3 endless eons to be able to accomplish this. So, every time you feel submerged in this kind of, in feeling bad and low self-worth, when it becomes too difficult, then connect yourself to your Lama. You know, put your palms together, and may all this kind of low self-worth of all sentient beings, may it come upon me. So you use it. Whatever. Even if I must feel it, even 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times stronger, but may they at least be free from it. So here, you don't even have the wish to change or to live something else, but you're completely embracing it, you're welcoming it. Blah, 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 blah. So Charlie, blah blah. So now I'm very sorry, but I think I'm late for the next session. So what's this person called? What's this person name? So Jana is a translator. So who's the person who asked this question? She's gone? So she's already gone. So I just wanted to know the name of such a person, of this person who asked the question.
Diana, il faudrait réactiver.
So Diana, can you switch on your microphone again?
Unmute now. Oui, oui. Merci beaucoup, Charles.
Thank you, Charles. This person is called Dinara. It's somebody who's joined in our group. Did I respond to her question clearly? Yes, she says, yes, thank you very much. So say spasiba. Say spasiba to her. Thank you very much.
Merci. Merci, Sharon.
So now we can do the
Je suis désolé.
dedication. So I'm sorry if there's any other questions. Om mani padme hum.
Janjo Zanjo Rimbo Mage Banage Gyoji Kebanya Bame Baya